I hope you're having a great day. Well, today I want to talk about something a little bit different. We always encourage people to be mindful about what they put into their systems and what they eat. But when we poop out the waste from our body, it is a great indicator to sometimes look at to tell you what's possibly going wrong in your system. When we pass out waste from our system, most of us don't even look at it. But you can get a lot of clues by looking at your own poop. Of course, we don't want to become too addicted to that whole process and then start guessing and Googling different things. But like I always say, be mindful about your body. If you're suddenly losing weight, putting on weight, you're too acidic, you're bloating too much, you have smelly flatulence, or your poop is smelling more than it does on regular days, that's the only time that you want to start looking at your poop to see what kind of clue it's giving you. Other than that, we don't want to be so obsessed about our health that we start doing these things, only when something really, really happens. So number one, most people miss the clue of when they start having weight loss or abdominal pain or a change in their weight or a change in their eating habits, and they find that their stools are actually dark black in color. Now, this can mean many things, not to scare you, right from a colorectal cancer sign to maybe bleeding in your stools, to maybe something as simple as your doctors put you on iron supplements and your stools have now become black. So we don't have to get scared, we don't have to really Google about these things, but we should be able to be aware and mindfully connect what's happening in our system with what our body's trying to tell us. So for example, people who have piles, people who have hemorrhoids, people who are constipated, and they're constantly pushing out and straining their motion. If their poop is black in color, there is a chance that there is blood in that stool. You can correlate this with a hemoglobin report and see that the hemoglobin levels are low. And sometimes instead of pumping yourself with more iron, all you need to do is solve the constipation problem so that you're not creating any abrasions in the rectal area by pushing out your stool and the color of your poop changes. Then we have people who have brown poop. Now, the most common color of poop would be brown in nature. Okay, now why is it brown? Because we pass out bilirubin. Bilirubin is a pigment in the body that is made by breaking down red blood cells. You and I have red blood cells. We're constantly making and breaking down red blood cells, and in the form of bilirubin, it's passed out of your system. It's passed out of your system, giving your poop that brown color. So there's nothing to worry about that. Now, your poop should basically be firm and soft. For some people, it's long. For some people, it's short. For some people, it comes out in the form of pellets. For some people, it's diarrhea. For some people, it's hard, rocky stools. Now, all this can tell you about your eating habits, acidity, the health of your gut, and all of these things. Sometimes your poop floats. This means it's very light and it's less dense and it creates a lot of gas in. So people who are usually bloated all the time, they'll find that their poop basically floats. When your poop basically sinks to the bottom, it's more dense and it's carrying out a lot of the waste and everything else, and it has less air and less gas in it. So you see, you can basically tell a lot that's basically happening. Now, a lot of people think that one stool a day is good enough. Some people have 2 to 3. The answer is actually 2 to 3 stools in a day is actually good for you. Now, if you have 1 stool a day, it doesn't mean something's wrong with you. But the simple logic and the simple science is if I've had a heavy meal, it digests, it wants to pass the waste out. So a lot of people pass a motion 1.5 to 2 hours after having a meal, which is a good thing if your stools are well formed, you're not constipated, it's not diarrhea type or IBS type stools, because your body's assimilating, absorbing, the waste is collecting, and your body's immediately putting that waste out of your system. It's not keeping it in your system for 24 hours. At the same time, the body is designed to be able to hold on to that waste for a 24-hour period. Anything more than that, if there's a day that you're going through without passing a motion, that is chronic extreme constipation, and that is extremely, extremely bad for you. Now, sometimes you find that your stools are slightly greenish in nature. There's nothing to worry about that. You've either eaten too much of plant, too many green smoothies, or sometimes it's just the color. Watch it for a while. Babies will have slightly yellow poop, sometimes green, sometimes brown. Absolutely nothing to worry about. Sometimes when your poop is red, you don't have to get worried about that. It's not always blood. If you've had a beetroot juice, you've had a fruit juice that contains, a vegetable juice that contains carrots, beetroots, you've eaten beetroot at the same time, there can be a chance that it has actually changed the color of your stool. Now, when it's white, sometimes you get white stools, very light and white fluid. That's a sign that your bile duct may be blocked. This doesn't mean it's a serious issue, but you could be having gallbladder stones, so that you correlate with heavy digestion. How do you feel when you eat oily meals, deep fried meals? Do you feel something like, a heavy weight in your abdominal area, a tightness in your abdominal area? That could mean that you have gallstones and you're not basically processing fat the right way. And we spoke about blood. That could be iron in your stools. Sometimes it could be blood in your stools. So it's a good idea to basically correlate these things. Now, the biggest clue, and that's one of the reasons why I like people to look at their poop once in a way, is if you notice undigested food in your stools. So sometimes you see the full corn, for example, that comes out. That's not a bad thing, because corn anyway has a thick cellulose around it, which your stomach acids cannot break down. That doesn't mean that the corn inside is not digested. It's probably digested the corn inside, and you've just passed out the outer shell, which may be lightish yellow and lightish white. That's not a problem. But sometimes you see, peas, you see seeds, you see beans, you see tomato pieces that come out in your poop. Again, nothing to worry about. But if you have a lot of belching, a lot of bloating, a lot of acidity, and all of these issues, and you find yourself malnourished, which means you're eating well, but you're losing weight, you have low vitamin levels, that's a good sign that your body is unable to break down the food, which means you're eating it and your body is passing it out without digesting and assimilating it. Now, this happens in cases where people eat too fast. They just swallow their food and the body doesn't have enough of time to break it down completely. So you're basically passing out a lot of that stuff, which means you're not really getting the nutrition that you require. It happens when people are on antacids, when they have a lot of antacids going inside of them, because antacids blocks the stomach from producing the right amount of acid, which has the job of breaking down your food. So you don't have the right amount of acid in your system. What happens is your food is not completely digested and it comes out. It can happen in pancreatic insufficiency as well. You have a problem with your pancreas, they are not producing the right amount of digestive enzymes. If you don't have the right amount of digestive enzymes, you are unable to break down the food that you eat. And then you'll see undigested food in your stools. Now, people who are celiac, which means they're completely people who are gluten intolerant, people who are lactose intolerant, people who have Crohn's disease, that is extreme inflammation of the gut, people who have IBS, that they constantly have several motions in a day. Now, all of these issues can cause undigested food in the gut and all of these gut problems at the same time. So again, once in a way, have a look at your poop, especially if you're suffering from any of these symptoms, and then you can take the corrective action. Your poop will smell differently on all different days depending on the kind of food that you eat. So it is true, you are what you eat, you are what you absorb from what you eat, you are what you digest from what you eat. It's extremely important. So if you have a stinky stool one day, maybe you've had a lot of outside food. Sometimes your stool is heavy and black. Maybe you've had a lot of oily food. So don't get worried about these things. Correlate it with a symptom that you have mindfully and then make the changes according to what you see, because your gut health is everything. Everything from your brain health to your hormones, to your moods, to your immune system, to your energy levels, everything, including your weight loss and your weight gain. Everything is dependent on the health of your gut. And you can measure that through your bloating, your flatulence, through the poop that you pass out of your system, and all of these things. Have a great day, everyone. Until next time, eat smart, move more, sleep right, and breathe deep.